Are you tired of the typical cargo electric bike that you see out there on the market? Well, Himiway may have the answer for you with their new C3 model, or do they? Let's find out in this review, but first, let's take a closer look. Hey everyone, I'm JT from Ebike Escape, and in this review, we're gonna be checking out this bike here next to me, the new Himiway C3. This is one of the many new models that Himiway came out with this year. We have reviews on some of their other models. Most notably, we have their C5, which is their moped-style e-bike, as well as their C1, which is their kids' moped-style e-bike. And if you just take one look at this e-bike or any of the other e-bikes that they've released this year, you kind of get the idea that somebody over at Himiway is having a good time designing and speccing e-bikes, and it definitely shows. So in this review, we are going to put the Himiway C3 to the test. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna run through all of the components that make up the e-bike. Then we're gonna take it and show you kind of trying to get across on camera how this bike rides. We're going to run through all the various pedals assist levels. We'll show you how to override the bike. Then we're gonna take it and put it to the test up our hill climb test. And at the end, we'll give you a very nice, easy to swallow reasons that you should and maybe should not consider the Himiway C3. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into some specifics about this bike. The Himiway C3 is offered at $19.99, pretty on par with other cargo electric bikes out there, but Himiway does tend to run sales from time to time, so be sure to check the link in the description for the best current price. And if you make a purchase after clicking that link, that is a free and easy way to support us here at Ebike Escape. And even if you're not looking to make a purchase at this time, simply clicking the subscribe button down below is another great, easy way to show support to us here at Ebike Escape. Thank you guys so much in advance for whichever way you can show support. The Himiway C3 is offered in two color variations. You have the white and teal that you see here, as well as a white and orange. And being that this is a cargo electric bike, you would be correct in assuming that this has a large weight capacity, which is going to be 440 pounds for rider and cargo, or rider and rider, depending on how you outfit or choose to ride your e-bike. And the C3 also tips our scales, as you see it spec'd here, at 80 pounds. And thanks to this very unique frame design here, the height recommendation for the C3 is gonna be 5'2" all the way up to 6'3". Now, thanks to this very wide open step through area here, getting your leg up and over, your leg doesn't have to go past 90. And then you simply get up and on. Very comfortable, easy to get on and off of thanks to that open frame design. As well as when you're riding, you have a lot of open space here. So now let me bring you guys in close and let's talk about some of the components that make up the C3. Starting up here in the front, we are greeted to some CST Big Boat 20 by 3 inch tires, complete with reflective line on the side of the sidewall. We have these all black rims, and then as we move our way in, we have some Tektro 180 millimeter rotors, as well as Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. For the keen eye among you, you will even be able to spot out that this is a through axle, which is gonna offer a little bit of extra rigidity to the front fork. And then we'll turn the wheel here too, so you can kind of see the tread. This is more of a city-oriented or paved path-oriented, being this is a cargo bike, treaded tire. And the C3 also comes outfitted with fenders, both front and rear. The front fork on the Himiway C3 is this 60 millimeters of travel trauma front fork, which has a lockout on the right-hand side over here, as well as a spring adjustment over here on the left. There you go. It's a very nice, cushy front fork. It is only 60 millimeters of travel, but some suspension is better than no suspension. This Himiway branded headlight is similar to what we've seen on other bikes. It is a very bright LED front headlight, provides a lot of good nighttime visibility. And as we move our way up from the headlight here, we get a look at these nicely cable wrapped wires all the way down into the down tube and into the cockpit. But I almost passed over the bolt holes here, mounted on the side of the head tube, which is for a front basket. Himiway offers that on their website, but interestingly enough, something that we realize Himiway does not have offered right now is gonna be cargo or kid carrying capabilities for the Himiway C3. They did tell us that those are in the works and they should be out soon, but they're not something that's offered on their website right now. But those bolt holes are something we've similarly seen on other Himiway bikes, so they do offer a front basket for that now. And as we come back in, this is gonna be the point where we talk about probably my favorite part of the C3, which is gonna be the cockpit. We get BMX style handlebars. Anybody that's seen a review I've done before, I really like BMX style handlebars. It really allows you to adjust the cockpit distance by simply adjusting your bolts there further towards you or away from you, which given the amount of space you have here on this bike is going to be very important. I have them in a very neutral position. And then as we come into the cockpit here, on the left-hand side starting over here, we have a Tektro hydraulic disc brake lever, a locking rubber grip. We have a thumb throttle here on the left-hand side. We have our 4 buttons, controls for the display, which we'll come right back to. We have an included bell. Tucked in there nicely behind the bell, we have the 7-speed Shimano shifter here, matching lever and grip on the right side as well. Now, as we come back to the center here, here's a good look at this display. This is a very simple display, but it is large and easy to read in the middle here. I'm gonna go ahead and actually turn off the headlight here. Now, quick note too, the display is not flashing. That is simply just the GoPro. Now, the buttons over here, we have a power button, an M button, then we have a minus and plus button. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, we have a battery and bar. We have what pedal assist level we're in there with that 1. We have our speed there, nice front and center. And at the bottom, we have our trip. And then down here between these white outlines, we actually have the amount of throttle that the bike is currently being given, or how much power you're actually getting out of the motor. It obviously goes from 0 over here to full power on the right. If you turn up your pedal assist levels, you'll notice that number changes. As well as if you push the M button here, you'll notice that number in the middle of the screen changes. We now have our average speed, max speed, and then down here at the bottom, we have our trip. This is in times. This is gonna be the amount of time the bike has been on, our current odometer and mileage, and then our current trip mileage. Now, there is also some advanced settings in this display, which I will show you how to override this bike towards the end of our riding footage. You can see what this bike does in stock form as well as being overridden. So overall, a pretty basic display, but being that it's front and center, nicely mounted, easy to read. And something that's not so clear about the display is tucked down here on the bottom. You have this little rubber plug, which when you pull it out, you actually get greeted to a USB-C port. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on camera, but it's a little USB-C port, so you could charge a device, maybe like your phone, while riding. As we come down from the cockpit, we have these 2 bolt holes here, which are gonna be bosses for a water bottle cage, maybe a bike lock, something like that. Great water bottle cage that we recommend to everyone. We sell at shop.ebikescape.com is gonna be our ABC cage, which has a nice ratchet strap there and can hold anything from a small water bottle all the way up to a Nalgene bottle. Here's a look at the rubber Himiway branded mat here on the top of the plastic, so you don't scratch that up. Something that happens more frequently than you would believe, as well as here's a nice look at the plastic and family series here branding. And then back here on the back of this plastic shielding, we have this charge port, which is gonna be the charging port for the battery. Now, this is gonna be important for everyone to know that is thinking about purchasing the Himiway C3, is that the battery on this bike is not removable. Now, it is removable if you're a tinkerer, even like myself, but it is not easily removable, and it's not something you'll wanna do every time. So the battery will need to be charged on the bike. Now, on the subject of battery, the battery for the Himiway C3 is a very impressive 20 amp hour, 960 watt hour battery. And it is also UL certified. And I should say too, it's not just the battery that is UL certified. This entire Himiway C3 is UL certified. And on the subject of charging, the Himiway C3 does come with a 3 amp UL certified charger as well. Helps you get that battery charged up a little bit quicker. Now, when we're talking about batteries, that is typically the best time to talk about the range for the e-bike. The Himiway C3 has a range estimate from Himiway of 60 to 80 miles. Now, that number may seem a bit high to some of you out there, but that's gonna be because the Himiway C3, tucked underneath this plastic here on this arm, sports a torque sensor, which means that you're gonna be able to stretch that power and battery range just a little bit further. Be sure to talk about the difference between a torque and a cadence sensor in my first person riding footage. And helping you put that power to the ground, here's where we're gonna have some nice metal pedals here. And tucked behind those pedals, we see this very impressive and pretty robust stand. It has some very wide feet, which even on this wet Wisconsin grass here, this bike has yet to try and fall over on me. And it also stays nicely out of the way of the tire. Don't notice any banging or anything like that around while riding. As we come back along the frame here, you will notice some bolt holes here for maybe some accessories that Himiway is gonna be coming out with in the future. But you do get this included nice pad here for somebody to sit on, but no place for them to put their feet. If you do insist on having somebody ride back here, please be careful that they don't put their feet anywhere near the motor there. It can be a bit dangerous. We have a Tektro hydraulic disc brake in the rear, complete with 180 millimeter Tektro rotor back here as well. And then as we come around to the back of the bike, you will notice this very nice brake light, which if you pull the brake levers, it illuminates. And then also if you turn on the headlights here, you will notice you have a daytime running light there. And then you pull the brakes and it illuminates just a touch brighter. Really nice safety feature there. Now, as we come around to this side of the bike, here's where we get our first look at the Himiway branded 750 watt, 86 Newton meters of torque rear motor. We're gonna be sure to put all those Newton meters of torque to the test up our hill climb test coming up here very shortly. Stay tuned for that. Then as we move our way out, we are greeted to a 14 to 28 tooth Shimano rear freewheel. And then shifting the gears over that freewheel, we have a Shimano Altus rear derailleur, which is really on the entry level for your drivetrain main components. My cat would like to be in this video apparently. And then as you follow that chain up here, you notice that we do have a little bit of protective tape here on the rear frame. And then we have this single metal sided chain ring, which is a 44 tooth front chain ring. And one of the last standout components about this bike, but something you'll be touching quite a bit, is gonna be this Himiway branded saddle. Now this is a very uniquely shaped saddle. It is not a typical bike seat shape. It's got a pretty large horn, but it does have Himiway written there, has some branding here, and it is very soft and very plush here. I do have to commend them for making a very comfortable saddle. So how is this uniquely styled e-bike to pedal, and how does it perform up our hill climb? Let's go find out. All right, here we are at the riding portion on the Himiway C3. First thing I want to talk about, how does the riding position feel and kind of how does the bike feel overall before we talk about the pedal assist levels and throttle. I'm assuming the first question on everybody's mind is gonna be, how did that really weird looking seat feel? Well, it's very cushy, pretty soft, it's very big. Surprisingly, doesn't impact your pedaling. It still gets narrow enough at the horn there that it feels pretty nice. I like these BMX style handlebars again, so I can really adjust the cockpit, twist them towards or away from me. Me being a little bit of a shorter rider, this them being a little bit closer is nice. And then other than that, we get texture hydraulic disc brakes that were super nice. And that coil front fork is very nice. Really, it helps absorb some of the bumps. Although we're on this nice asphalt path here, we don't really have to worry about them too much, but when we cross the road up here, it'll be nice to have that front fork. Before I jump to the pedaling, I realized I forgot to talk about the throttle, which I imagine most people want to know about too. So the throttle on this bike is not paired to any pedal assist level. So whether you're in pedal assist level 1 or 5, you can simply use the throttle and you get full access to the power. You see the motor power there goes all the way up. And again, it's gonna be right up to that 20-mile-an-hour range. And right there, you're gonna feel the bike just kind of backing down, but it can easily hold you right here at that speed. And it's gonna just constantly give you power and back it off. Very easy to get going, very easy to use. It is a nice push throttle on the side. I know some people prefer the twist, especially if you're gonna be maybe on long rides. Having something you have to constantly keep down with your thumb can get a little bit exhausting on your joints. Now, the biggest riding characteristic influencer on this bike has to be that torque sensor. So a torque sensor, for those of you out there that don't know, is a sensor. So it actually measures how many rotations you're putting in with your legs. So what that really translates to is that you get a more natural riding feel. So it feels more like you're pedaling instead of like an on-off switch like a cadence sensor. So, all right, let's go ahead, shift all the way down to gear 1 and pedal assist level 1. And here we are just coasting about 6-7 miles an hour. Not really much resistance on my legs. It'd probably go up to, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 there, given the amount of power this bike is giving me. There we go, about 8-9 miles an hour. It's pretty comfortable cadence. Very easy to cruise, very easy to pedal. I really like the trigger shifter as well versus the overhand cis index thumb shifter that we get. Across this road here. Yep, there you go. That comfy seat and nice front suspension front fork is really soaking up some of these up and downs on these curbs here. There we go. So yeah, so we're cruising about 9-10 miles an hour. And again, because it's torque sensor, I can give it more power, but really I want to show you what the pedal assist levels work with here. So pedal assist level 2, we should get a little bit more power here. And I did feel a little bit less resistance on my legs there. I'm kind of ghost pedaling, so I would shift up to about 4th there at about 11-12 miles an hour. And I'd probably even go up maybe even to 5th now. So I am in 5th on the shifter, pedal assist level 2, and keeping it at a nice 12-13 miles an hour here. GPS and display are in sync. It's nice when they agree on the speed. Go ahead and kick it up, pedal assist level 3. Yep, feel the bike giving me power. And it's trying to push me past it, but it wants me to put in a little bit more effort with my legs. So here we go. So I'm gonna give it a little bit more effort, and almost instantly 14-15 miles an hour there. And I can feel the bike giving me power and pulling it back because that torque sensor is constantly measuring and adjusting. So you can definitely feel it doing that. I'd probably shift up to 6 here. Yeah, probably almost 7. 7th is gonna be here in 4th. So there we go. Kick it up now to 4th. And again, now here we go. 16. Yep. 16 miles an hour. It definitely wants me to put in a little bit more. So I'm going to shift up to 7th over here. And yep, there we go. We're going to touch 17 here. 17 miles an hour. And this is it's pretty easy for me to keep this. Getting a little bit of a headwind, so you're going to slow down a little bit there. But it'd be very easy for me to keep this speed with this cadence, with the amount of leg pressure. You can hear I'm not out of breath, so I'm not pedaling too much or anything like that. And then if you want to go a little bit faster, of course, we can kick it up one more pedal assist level, which I will do once I cross the road up here. But this is the part where this bike is kind of going to show one of its first unfortunate negatives per se. That's going to be in the rear end here and on the gearing. I kind of talked about it a little bit in the walk around, but that 14 to 28 tooth, that 14 gear is not going to allow you to provide power up into the higher speeds. So what I mean by that is that now I'm in pedal level 5, I'm at about 17, 18 miles an hour, and I provide a little bit more power up to that 20 mile an hour range there. And see, the bike is backing me off there. It's holding me at that class 2. So I guess I should take that back, that this gearing, the rear cassette on here, is pretty perfectly paired for a class 2 speeds. But when you kick it up to that override speeds, I imagine that it's gonna kind of fall short a little bit. So we'll have to talk about that a little bit when we get up there. But I mean, you can just pick your pedal assist level, figure out how much effort you want to put in that day. 0, which being the most, and 5 being the least. And then you just kind of cruise, adjust your gearing for there. It's a very nice riding experience on this bike. So that wraps up what this bike is capable of in class 2 mode. Let's go ahead and override it and show you what the motor is capable of, and then do our hill climb test. All right, very quickly, let's show you how to override the top speed. So first thing you're gonna have to do is get into the general settings, which you're gonna get into by holding the plus and minus button at the same time. You're gonna get this screen. Now, before you push anything else, once you've gotten to this screen, you're gonna push the negative and the M button at the same time. You're gonna get to P2 screen. Now, here's where you're gonna need a password. So that password is going to be 0510, and you push the M button to get through it. And here, now you're into the advanced settings. And the setting you're gonna look for is not this one. This is gonna be your wheel size. It's gonna be L5 here. This is gonna be your top speed. To adjust it, you simply push the up and down button, turn it all the way up to 28 miles an hour, makes this bike a class 3 powered e-bike. You simply hold the power button to turn off the bike. Simply hold the M button to get out of the advanced settings. And then I like to just turn the bike off and turn it right back on. So here we go. Let's go ahead and show you what this bike is capable of now from a stop. So here we are, first gear. Oh, yep, a little bit, get power right away. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and we are 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, yep, 19 miles an hour there while pedaling. Give it a little bit more power here, 20. Yep, and here's where I feel like I'm kind of showing my legs are spinning very fast. You gotta slow down for the stop sign. No cars coming here. Give a little throttle, get back up to speed. Now, and like I said, it kind of once you get past 20 miles an hour there, it's really where you start to find the limit of that 28 tooth rear gear. I'm kind of starting to ghost pedal here, and I really gotta press to give more power here. And you can kind of see here, it's interesting too, I'm not getting full power, even in pedal assist level 5. Helps me up to about that 23, 24 miles an hour. Now, one thing I do remember, it's kind of a hack about these bikes, is that once you get pedaled past 20 miles an hour, you can use the throttle. So I'm able to use the throttle to hold me at that 23, 24 mile an hour speed. Now, we do have the bike overridden to 28, but doesn't look like it's quite capable of getting to those 28 mile an hour speeds, whether that be the wheel size or motor power. Looks like 23, 24 miles an hour is gonna be the top speed of this bike, even in class 3 mode. So there you go. So now let's see what this bike's capable of up our hill climb test. All right, here we are, bottom of the hill climb test that I test all of the bikes that I review here on the channel. So first time up this hill, I'm gonna go up it throttle power alone. So here we are, no pedaling. I'm in pedal assist level 1, but again, does not matter what gear you are in, or what pedal assist level you're in rather, because you get full access to the throttle, which is very nice. So here we go. We're dropping pretty quickly to about 12, 13 miles an hour there. It does get a little steeper up here, so I imagine it's going to drop a little bit more, but it looks like we're kind of settling in at about 12 for this section. And let's see. There you go, 11.4, 11 miles an hour. 10. I mean, all right, a 10 mile per hour minimum speed up that hill is not a bad number, as it's a pretty steep hill. So let's go ahead and turn back around, go down it, and we'll come back up while pedaling. See how much effort we have to put in with that torque sensor. But one thing I like to do is that I like to give these brakes a good test. So I'm gonna lay on the brakes here. Woohoo! Wow, yeah, they definitely got me slowed down, had to modulate them a little bit, get back up to speed. I like to think that it's not the first time you hit the brakes, it's always the second or third time. So this line here, we're gonna go, oh yeah. Now that they're getting hot, they are slowing down a lot better. I already bedded them a little bit, but a little bit more never hurt them. Here we go. A little bit more, 22, 23. Yeah, I mean, I'm having to let off on the rear because it's just slowing itself down to where it's almost skidding. So good brakes. It's exactly what we've come to expect from these Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. So now that we are at the bottom, let's go ahead and go back up. I'm in pedal assist level 1. Let me get shifted all the way down to 1. Again, this is a torque sensor, so I'm going to try and maintain a nice easy cadence the entire way up, or the same cadence rather. That way you can get an idea of what gear, what pedal assist level and gear will get you up a hill. So this here, a little bit too much pressure on my legs here. I would probably end up shifting up pedal assist level 2. There we go. This looks like 7 miles an hour there. And one of the reasons you might want to pedal up the hill is A, for exercise, but B, also to conserve some battery. Now you do have a 20 amp hour battery on this bike, but in case you wanted to stretch that power out a little bit. So here we go. I had to shift up pedal assist level 3, still in gear 1 over here on the right, trying to keep that nice easy cadence with my legs. Hopefully this bar will show up on camera. You can see how much power I'm actually getting from the motor. A little bit, definitely putting in some effort here. 4, a little bit less pressure comes off. It's a little bit of pressure comes off the bike every single time I shift up pedal assist, all the way up to pedal assist level 5. Again, felt it come off. It looks like 7, 8 miles an hour while pedaling, trying to keep an easy cadence. Now, I could have always put in more effort to get up the hill, but trying to keep it in a realistic place where, you know, not working myself too much, but definitely getting some exercise. So now that hill climb test wraps up the riding portion of our review. And now you know what specs the bike has. You know how it rides on flat ground and up a hill. So let's throw it to some concluding thoughts on some reasons why you should and should not consider the Himiway C3.
I know I said this at the beginning, but I definitely have to say it again. Someone at Himiway is having a very fun time designing and speccing these e-bikes. The C3 is just that, a fun-looking and well-specced e-bike. And when you compare the price at just $16.99 on sale at the time of riding, so check the description for the best current pricing, you get a very well-specced cargo e-bike. But is it really a cargo e-bike? Let's talk about what it does right and what it falls short on. At the heart of every e-bike is the motor and drivetrain, which is something that Himiway gets right on almost all of their e-bikes. The C3 gets a pretty class-leading 48-volt 20 amp hour UL certified battery and a 750-watt brushless hub motor, both of which performed great in our test, not struggling to handle me, a 225-pound rider, with ease. And the battery is among the largest that we see at this price segment. The choice of a torque sensor is an interesting one and is typically something that we've only seen on higher end cargo e-bikes. Some people love them and some not so much, but the inclusion of a throttle makes the power no more than a twist or push away. Another interesting choice around the battery is its inability to be removed, making charging and storage something to keep in mind, especially when your bike weighs 80 plus pounds. And not even touching on the fact that if the battery ever needs to be replaced, it's going to be a bit more of a hassle. The benefit of this though is a frame with an almost optimal weight distribution and a very low step over height. Not to mention a robust frame that has a weight capacity of 440 pounds. The rest of the C3 is just as nicely specced, from the bright headlight and taillight, suspension front fork, all the way down to that center mounted and robust kickstand. Really, the list could go on, and the C3 checks a lot of boxes that I personally like when searching for cargo e-bikes. But like every e-bike that we review, it is not without some items worth considering, especially being that it is a cargo e-bike, and it's safe to say that we have seen our fair share of cargo e-bikes, especially in this sub $2,500 price category. Starting with some of the smaller things that I think the Himiway C3 falls short on is going to be gearing. The 14 to 28 tooth gearing has you ghost pedaling at speeds past 24 miles per hour, and at slower speeds, it almost makes you working a bit harder to engage the torque sensor on steep hills, which means that you will be using the throttle a bit more frequently. That total weight, while not the highest that we've seen at 80 pounds, and the battery's inability to be removed, storage and charging do pose a challenge. Also, the lack of a deflapilator, yes, that is a word, causes the front wheel to not be as rigid, and when up on the kickstand can cause it to spin 180 degrees, so it's really just more of a nuisance, but something that you have to keep an eye on. And probably the biggest thing for me has to be the lack of accessories. The entire Ebike Escape team agrees a cargo e-bike is not useful without its accessories. So while Himiway advertises the C3 as a cargo e-bike, there are not really any carrying or similar accessories available, at least not yet. Meaning that in its current state, if you want to carry a child, they're really put in this really awkward position where they're holding on to your butt. Now, to be clear, Himiway does say that they are planning to release accessories in the near future, but for the time being, do-it-yourself is really the only option. We'll be keeping an eye out on their website for accessories, and if you'd like to do the same, we'll have a link down in the description. That link is also the best way to show us support. If you make a purchase after clicking any of those links down below, they help support us here at Ebike Escape. Thank you guys so much in advance for all of the support. So overall, the bike hits a lot on the components that people like to see. We're not sure it's deserving of the descriptor of a cargo e-bike just yet, and keep in mind that this is also more of a short tail or utility style rather than the long tail that we typically see for a cargo e-bike. So that would be something that would-be purchasers should keep in mind when comparing this to other models. So what do you think of the C3? Do Himiway's designs stand out to you guys as much as they do to us? Let us know down in the comments below. Remember to ride safe, everyone, and I will catch you all in the next one.